How does the Windfish come into all this? Because his theme is in the Hyrule Castle music.
Oh, is it? Oh.
Wait, really?
Wait, really?
Yeah, it's in there.
Why? Of all pieces to put in that game's Hyrule Castle theme, why the Ballad of the Windfish? That's just bizarre to me.
It's in there, which is speculating all sorts of wild theories out there.
It's all been a dream.
Game is a dream.
Man, okay.
Yeah, but it's probably going to be a little while until we can expect another Zelda. I'm curious what they're going to come up with next.
It'll go like it usually does. In about 3 or 4 years, we'll get an announcement. A year later, we'll get first gameplay, and then it'll be delayed 3 years.
Well, unless they decide to go the route of Majora's Mask, where it's like, okay, we got this engine, let's just make another big open world and add some new stuff to it. So we'll see what they decide to do.
The Majora's Mask wasn't even the plan for that game, so
Yeah, like just I wouldn't be opposed. Like, all right, Link, time to go to another area, but it's been also devastated, and you, like Link's Awakening, just wash up on the island.
Termina, anyone?
I wouldn't mind
Yeah.
a Majora's Mask situation, because what Majora's Mask was it was more contained than Ocarina. It was also more intricate, but it used the same gameplay engine and gameplay systems. It was basically one big, huge experiment. And that kind of thing would be a great follow-up to this kind of game.
The scaling down, I think, is probably what they're going to try to do before trying to make an even bigger and more open world. I don't think that they're going to try to...
No, they don't need to go any bigger than this.
Yeah, I can't see them
Probably
going bigger. Like a lot of like, you look at the GTAs, each one is like, let's get bigger, and I don't see Nintendo doing that with Zelda.
The thing about Grand Theft Auto is that, you know, it's usually based around one local area in the real world, or something inspired by the real world. Well, not New York City, that kind of thing. There's plenty of stuff to base that on, so half of your work is already done for you.
True. Very true. So
I don't know. Well, I mean, just kind of bring up Derrick's point. I would like to see a Breath of the Wild in a sense of Termina. I would love to I would like to have a more in-depth look at that area, but that's just me. But
I don't think that they're going to try to do Majora's Mask again, because I don't think...
Oh, no, they're never going to.
If they're going to revisit an area that we haven't seen before, that we have seen before, I'd like it to be something a little bit more obscure, like something out of the Oracle games. One of those two regions.
I was thinking that
they're not gonna touch those because Capcom made those games.
That is
Minish
true
Cap
as well.
Capcom, they do not like to pretend to acknowledge that those games exist for some reason.
How about the island of Kurodai?
There you go. Oh god. I'm trying to think of the other areas that Link has visited over the course of the games. But
Speaking of kind of a joking on the CDI thing, is that there's this. Nintendo missed a huge opportunity there. One of the side quests in like the Ocean Village is "What's for dinner?" They should have called it "I wonder what's for dinner."
Nice.
Does the king ever call you my boy? I mean,
no, unfortunately.
Lame.
Although I guess we could go back to the Spirit Tracks timeline and have a Breath of the Wild in New Hyrule. And we'll have trains in that. I'd like to see that, like, because that is a timeline where technologies did start to evolve, and we got trains. Like, go back to that timeline. Let's see more of New Hyrule and all the other stuff.
Toon Link is kitty and stupid. We don't want it anymore.
No, I want him back.
Okay, here's what you do then. You say soon that it's after Spirit Tracks, but it's later. So okay, if you have Adult Link, trailer of futuristic trains rolls up. Link jumps off, does a cool spin attack thing, and then boom, Zelda. It's like, oh, wait, Final Fantasy VII, crap.
There you go. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure this will last us a while, because, again, we have the first DLC. Who knows what that's really going to contain? A hard mode, probably a
I don't know what they're
finder.
going to do. Here's the thing. I don't know what they're going to do to the hard mode to make it an actually satisfying mode. Because the game, you die a lot in this game, but I wouldn't really say it's hard. Because it's not very difficult difficult in the sense that you're punished a lot. You just get brought back a couple of seconds most of the time.
The only time I've been punished is Eventide Island.
Yeah, and everyone hates that island.
One of the things that I'll say that they probably are going to do is they're going to scale back on certain exploitable things, because there are things that are by design meant to be exploited if you're smart enough to spot them. Fairies, for example. You can go back to the Great Fairy Fountain, one of which is like right next to a warp point in Kakariko Village, and just catch fairies. But the fairies stop appearing if you've got a certain amount of fairies. So they won't start to respawn until you start to run low on fairies again.
I didn't realize that. I just would go back on occasion and get some more fairies.
Fairies!
That's by design.
It's not like they can just amp up the amount of damage, though, because enemies are already doing like 8 hearts of damage per second.
Yeah, they are.
They can't. At some point, it just becomes ridiculous. Like,
There's this one centaur creature that you have to fight during the Zora's Domain quest line.
The Lionels.
Well, you don't have to fight it. You can just sort of sneak around the outskirts and collect your shock arrows that way. But
that's what I did, because I tried fighting him the first few times and I was getting my ass kicked, so I'm like, okay, I'm just going to stealth this.
Yeah, I went through my entire stock of fairies, and every time the goddamn thing hit me, it was like almost my entire health bar. It was like down to 3/4 of a heart every time.
Oh no, see, I was at the point where it hit me, I'd get back up, he'd hit me again, I'd go right back on the ground.
And the thing has so much health, which was only accentuated by the fact that I could see its health thanks to the champion tunic. And I got it down to about a third health before it killed me.
Do you know what the scary thing about that is, though, Lewis? That's not even the hardest one.
Yeah, there's a blue maned one, and I bet you since they have like standard colors.
Oh, it's for sure.
There's a black and white one. That's the hardest one, and that's the hardest.
Yeah, that's how all of the things worked. Even like the Hinox bosses. There's a red one, which is the easiest one. Like the only difference is just Lizalfos, because those are naturally green. But it's red, blue, black, and then silver. And like by the time you get to a silver one. Like, even silver bokoblins don't fuck around. Like, you're pretty screwed if you run.
I haven't found a silver
unless I knock them off the cliff before they notice me.
I love the sneak strikes.
One of the things that I've actually noticed is that as you complete more objectives, the enemies on the map get harder. Like, I used to not run into any silver bokoblins, but now that I've completed 2 dungeons, they're all over the place.
Oh yeah, they totally scale up.
That's scaling the game for you.
Yeah,
which is really smart.
It basically makes sure that the random mook enemies are strong enough to still present you a challenge, but also drop better gear. So that you're not like by the time you beat your first dungeon, you're not gonna want regular old Boko clubs.
No.
They're useless.
I will say though, I didn't find my first Lionel at Zora's Domain. I found one randomly. Like I found a Hinox, took it out. I was feeling all good walking around. All of a sudden I see this, the Lionel just staring at me, and I'm like, hi. And then he finally started coming at me, and I got my stuff out, started fighting him, and he took me down, got back up for the ferry, and I actually got in close, started hitting him with my best weapons, and they kept breaking so quickly. The
Lionels are the hardest enemies in the game to me so far, even harder than some of the Guardians.
Oh,
that's harder
it.
than the Hinox and the Stone Talus, and that thing's not even a mini boss.
The thing about the Lionel, the thing about the Lionel is it moves in such a way that you basically can't melee it. It charges at you really fast, and it charges past you. It's something that you really have to be creative in how you attack it. Or you have to be really good with a bow.
Yeah, or get your flurry attacks.
Yeah, flurry attacks help too.
Speaking of rare and hard encounters, have you guys run into any of the dragons?
I've seen one of them, but I have not fought one because no.
Oh, I was running by the lake area on the east coast, just kind of exploring, and it was raining, so I was just running past the lake like la-di-da-di-da. Suddenly, a fucking lightning dragon spawns from the lake. Then thunderbolts rain through the sky. I'm like, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck, oh fuck,
yeah,
oh fuck, oh fuck.
It was like one of the most striking things in the game was seeing that for the first time. Also, can we talk for a moment about how freaking scary the Blood Moon is? The first time we see it? Because I took a screenshot of it, actually, because I was Hold on, I can pull up.
I
My
actually had to run in with an NPC who mentions it before it came up
I
for
did.
me.
I did
Oh,
not.
see, I did not. I knew about it because I had to monitor Andre's stream, so I saw the blood moon there. But still, experiencing it for the first time on my own, like
The distorted music and the particles flying about.
it happened while I was fighting, like running away from a guardian. So I'm seeing all this stuff coming out. Like, what is the guardian doing this? And then, of course, everything respawns. I'm like, well, that's a creepy as hell thing to happen. Is fight a guardian while blood moon's going on.
Now, do you know what the funny thing though is that kind of happened that I read about? Apparently, someone was fighting Ganon when the blood moon hit, and it warped him out of the boss fight. And he had to start all over.
Oh. That
Okay,
sucks.
so you want to know? Okay, so the first time I saw the blood moon, I was like sneaking up on some bokoblins. It comes out from behind the mountain, and I was just, what the fuck is up with this? But here's the other thing. I was fighting a Lionel at one point, and I see the blood moon starting to rise. And here's the thing: I was almost about to kill this Lionel. It was just about dead, but I knew that if I killed this thing now, as soon as the blood moon rises, I would not have been able to scrounge up all of those shock arrows before the thing respawns. So at the moment, I'm just standing there, waiting out the blood moon and dodging all of its attacks, so that I can actually kill it once the blood moon comes. It was terrifying.
The only thing that would have made that better is if it got the Majora's Mask face on it when it was the blood moon.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
It's a very impressive game, I will say, in general. But
one of the things that you'll notice, though, as the blood moon is rising, is that wherever you are, it starts to get that black, foggy, corrupted look.
Oh yeah, the Ganon fog, basically.
Yeah,
It almost looks like out of Twilight Princess, actually.
yeah.
Kind of does.
Also, the Ganon sludge too that is around certain areas is really annoying as well.
There's a tower that's like half covered in it, but I had like 10 hearts at the time when I happened to run into it, so I'm like, okay. I glided to as high as I could, and then just take the damage while I climbed up.
It eats your
life.
damage quick, though. It'll take like a heart and a half of damage every other second.
Yeah, but I managed to just get over it to where the tower was before I died, so I'm like, take that tower.
Yeah, you know what you do in a situation like that? You go into your menu every couple seconds and just scarf down a
Eat.
fuck ton of apples.
Yep.
Exactly. So it's
It's an impressive game. I'm not sure if it's the best game ever made, but like that's also the best game ever made. I'm not even sure if it's my favorite Zelda because obviously linked crossbow training will never be beaten. But it is definitely. I'm glad I played it, and I'm glad that I've probably gotten at least 60 hours out of the game at this point, and I haven't gotten
definitely
bored.
same here.
Yeah,
Which
I
is-
plan on still playing for quite a while. Like, I want to do as much as I can.
I think my favorite thing about the whole greatest game ever kind of thing is that someone posted a pick of the top 2 games on Metacritic, which are, of course, Ocarina of Time and Tony Hawk 2, oddly enough. It shows a picture of Miyamoto thinking, and then it just shows a picture of Link kind of shield boarding down a sand dune.
Can I just say that the shield surfing mechanic, I was kind of surprised, but you could just do that right at the beginning of the game.
How? I have not figured out how to do that.
You
I'm
pull out-
waiting for
you pull out
instructions.
your shields.
Hold ZL,
Yeah,
jump, and then press A.
you go into the... nobody tells you about this unless you find specific NPCs on the way to the Korok Forest, but... It's just in your menu. You can go into the menu and check your control setting, your ability controls, and shield surfing is like the second item on the menu, and it's just a certain button combination that you can use to surf your shield down a hill.
Yeah,
I don't.
all
use it very
of
much,
your physical abilities are unlocked straight from the get-go.
I had a
any
feeling, but I just
physical
needed to know how to do it. I was waiting for an
Yeah,
NPC to tell me.
you take out your shield, you hold your shield, you jump, and then you hit the
A button.
the A button.
Oh, okay.
I'm
It's
sorry.
just I've never really found a use for it though because I'd rather paraglide down. I mean, I guess
Yeah,
it doesn't
well,
need stamina. to
It
shield
doesn't.
surf.
It doesn't eat stamina, and it does get you a lot of speed down a not particularly steep kind of slope. And you have some pretty good control while you're surfing your shield.
Yeah, if you're like on a snowy mountain or like the sand dunes in Gerudo, it's actually much better than running.
Yeah. So it's good for that. And once you have the Hylian shield, It's basically what you're going to be keeping all your shield fodder for. You're just going to be surfing down shields on all your throwaway shields and using the Hylian shield for battle.
Well, the Knight
Time to be
shields
cool,
that
be
you
wild,
can
and be
find
groovy.
are 40 defense, and they're pretty hardy because like I've
The
got
Hylian shield is 90.
yeah 90. Well, still 40 is plenty. I've got 5 of them right now, and they are they have lasted me quite a while. So
Yeah.
Let me put it this way: the Hylian shield survived the Ganon fight.
oof. Yeah.
Nice.
How hard is Ganon? Just no spoilers. How hard is it? Even with the Master Sword and all of that stuff.
Let me kind of put. It's kind of weird, actually. Just I'll break it up into thirds in a sense. Difficult but doable. Stupid hard. Piss easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. I do like the bosses that I've fought. It seems like they've stepped away from the every boss has an exact pattern that you have to respond to in an exact way, and more onto bosses behaving like really powerful regular enemies that you generally only see in games like Devil May Cry.
Well, ultimately, the way the bosses worked previously was due to the whole Zelda formula. You have to use the weapon you get in the dungeon to defeat the boss, etc.
It's more of a puzzle boss than a regular fight, which isn't really the thing here. I was just the boss of the Zora's Domain dungeon was a 2-phase thing, and it wasn't hard, but it was fun.
The Gerudo boss was hard, for the record. Like, that boss was annoying. But it wasn't too bad once you figured out what you were supposed to do. And I'm glad that they still kept some of the that's not really a spoiler. They kept some of the puzzle elements to it, and I'm glad that they did that because it makes it feel more like Zelda when you keep those Zelda. Like, you actually have to think about it a little bit.
Yeah,
I think you can still brute force it if you tried, but it would make it a lot harder.
Yeah, I mean, there are things to think about, and there are certain mechanics that they introduce prior to the boss fight that, if you remember them, will make your life easier, like the fact that you can shoot ice blocks out of the sky.
No, you don't even need to shoot them. You can use the Cryonis rune to destroy them immediately.
Oh, that is
I didn't even think to do that. Oh my god.
Yeah,
That makes so much sense.
It made the whole shock arrows sequence with
a hell of a lot
Prince Sa-
easier. Yeah,
Yeah.
that would have made it a lot.
Yeah, that
easier
would
to
have
make.
done.
Oh man,
Wasted
I
so many
used up-
arrows.
Yeah, I did. I did too.
There's that whole creativity in the game again.
Yeah, exactly.
The reason why I found it out was I was originally going to use the Cryonis rune to make shields out of the water.
Oh, to make a wall.
But you wound up aiming a little off, right?
Yeah.
Well, you
I don't know-
probably saw that you could crack it at that point because the indicator.
Yeah, it gave me the little hammer icon, and it was just like, wait a minute, I can break these, and it makes sense because they look they have the same
exactly.
markings as the Cryonis runes, the Cryonis blocks do.
Yeah. Oh, my
man,
god, that's so smart.
Man, I wish I knew that because
Yeah, I could have saved
would've
like
come out of
30
I would
arrows.
have come out of that area that with so I was constantly switching between normal arrows and shock arrows because I didn't want to waste all my shock arrows, but and I wound up missing a whole bunch of shots too, and those are arrows you can't retrieve because you're on the water.
I had like 130 arrows. By the time I was done with that sequence, I was down to about, I think, like 85, 90. So
Yeah.
I really only ever, aside from armor, I really only ever buy arrows in this game.
yeah, same here.
It's just really. It's really, really fun and addictive to play a game with Zelda's simplicity and charm, but also the kind of freedom and non-linear thinking that you normally get from other games.
It's also, I think it's probably the most non-linear Zelda, aside, like, even I'd say more than the Zelda 1, because in Zelda 1,
There's a Dungeon 1, there's a Dungeon 2, there's a Dungeon 3. You're supposed to do them in order.
Yeah, like, you can do Dungeon 5 first, but it's called Dungeon 5, not Dungeon 1. So,
Well, that's also just a matter of it being made in 1986 for the NES.
Yeah. And the
If they had this kind of technology back in 1986, I'm sure they would have done something similar. But who can really say? But
when I say non-linear thinking, I don't necessarily mean the structure of the game. I mean the thought process that goes into playing it. Like, you are not thinking in terms of a straight path forward through your problems. You are thinking in terms of, okay, what are my options here? How many options do I have? What can I... How easy is this thing compared to this other thing?
And now it's fun, it's just seeing what other people come up with. Like, I saw a video of, I think I posted it earlier, but one of the clips was a guy put all the Octorok balloons on the corners of a raft and tried to sail off in the sky with it.
Did that work? Did it work?
For a little bit before the balloons popped.
No.
Oh, man.
You can have an up situation.
Like, that's
Yeah.
something that I think could be explored really interesting. Like, the kind of physics stuff. Like, I'm sure you guys have all seen that GIF of the guy stasising the rock, whamming it with the iron sledgehammer, and then grabbing onto it. I'm sure we've all seen that at this point.
Mm-hmm.
No, I mean, in a shrine, like, there was a hinged platform, like, jut your fingers down and then move your hand up and down with your wrist. It was a platform kind of like that.
Mhm.
So it was kind of on the ground, and opposite of that was a locked door, but the wall didn't go high all the way up. And I was thinking, how do I get over to the treasure on the other side? Because I don't want to look for the key. I went underneath it, froze it in time, whacked it a number of times, and then stood on top of it. It catapulted me up in the air, then I glided over the wall.
That's awesome.
Oh, man.
What I'm wondering is how many of these things were like when they were designing and they were like, oh, sir, we found out that there's a way that you can... Playtesting has found a way that you can sneak past this shrine. I'm wondering how many of those they found and decided to leave in on purpose, or how many of them are just left.
Yeah, there's an almost Metroid-esque feel to certain sequences in this game, in the sense that, you know, there's a way that you're obviously supposed to do it, but if you're clever, you can find a way around it.
Yeah, that's where most of my funds come from. It's like, I know the game wants me to do it this way, but could I do it this way?
Exactly.
Oh, man. And it's really good for an open world game, too, so...
It's just to me, it's just a shame that this and Horizon came out at the same time, because it's like, I want to play both,
I
but I don't
know.
want to play two huge open world games at the same time.
what makes it hurt so much, especially for me, since now I've got both games, is they're both really
so good.
excellent games in their own unique ways. And I think that's actually a really good thing for both of them, is that they're both really good open world games, but they're also both very different open world games. It's not like you're playing the same game twice.
Yeah.
Because I'm definitely gonna get Horizon and I'm gonna play it, but it's just not right now.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Horizon sold more than Zelda.
In
did.
Europe, in the UK, I think it slightly edged. It edged out by a what I heard was a comfortable margin. It edged out Zelda for the #1 spot.
That's also coming from a much larger install base for the system and a new console launch.
Yeah, but it's even still though. I feel like Zelda's dominated the conversation. If that's the case, like, people aren't talking about Horizon anymore, which is a shame for that game, because everything I've seen about it, it seems to be fantastic as well.
Well, that's just a Zelda name for you.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's going up against new IP, but it's great to see that a new IP is doing so well. And it is a game I want to get eventually. It
deserves it. It really does. There are some problems I have with it. If you want me to very quickly go through them, I could. But it's also a very...
I mean, this is a Zelda discussion, so...
Yeah, I know.
You don't
We've
want
been
that
here for
filthy
almost 2 hours.
PlayStation crash in this discussion.
Says the guy who won't touch a PlayStation controller.
I did do a blog post on the BrainScratch WordPress about Horizon. Just a general thoughts thing. But that's slightly outdated because I hadn't played Breath of the Wild at that point.
Yeah.
Well, just I guess out of curiosity for someone who has played both, is kind of, which do you think is better in certain ways then?
Okay, so
I mean, I know you're not terribly far in Zelda, but still.
world building is great in Horizon Zero Dawn, but making the world itself feel lively in terms of the people is better in Zelda. Backstory has a much freer, less baggage-laden feeling because in Zelda, because obviously it's Zelda. It's all just fanciful crap. There's nothing about a particular kind of political dystopia in the background that like Horizon Zero Dawn has. But at the same time, the actual world that you explore physically in the game is more intricate and interesting in Horizon Zero Dawn. both games do the non-linear thinking in combat thing really, really well, though. So it's really more about the feeling that you're going to get that determines what you prefer out of the two games. Horizon Zero Dawn is a serious, tense kind of game where you are the hunter hunting these mechanical animals or stealth killing these cultists, whatever it is you're doing at the time. Whereas Zelda is more of a languid, peaceful, green pastures kind of game, you know? In fact, playing Breath of the Wild is kind of like playing Flower with a sword, if that makes any sense. Has anyone here played Flower?
Oh yeah, I have.
Briefly.
It's like
good.
the one game on the PlayStation 3 that used the 6-axis for something worthwhile. Yeah.
Well, speaking of the mechanical terrors in Horizon, though, how many people wanted to play the Shadow of the Colossus music when you first saw footage of, like, the gigantic ones?
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's just the game's version of the Ubisoft Tower. Both of these games have versions of the Ubisoft Tower, which is kind of annoying on a fundamental level, but they both do it fairly well. I think Zelda makes it more interesting in the fact that you're climbing up them in a variety of different ways, depending on what tower it is.
Yeah, they're also sort of their own puzzle that you have to figure out, so...
Yeah.
Some of them are covered by guardians, like there's the one that's in a swamp that you have to find your way to get to. I
just did that one like 10 minutes before we started this discussion. I fell into that swamp so many fucking times because I paraglided out into this wooden board that's out in the swamp, and I realized I couldn't get off that board without falling into the swamp. I'll have to quick travel out, but I was too stubborn, so I just kept sort of trying to finagle my way around, and then I discovered you can use your ice blocks on the swamp water.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, okay.
It's one thing about this game, I think it's definitely one that I think thankfully lived up to the hype it built itself. Because Zelda games, I think, really build up the hype for their release. And a lot of the times, if they're even just a little bit underwhelming, people
bitch.
Oh, now you're like a Twilight Princess.
Yeah, because then it's the worst game ever made until the next Zelda game comes out. Then it's an underrated gem, and you always loved it from the beginning. Everybody else was just assholes about it.
Yeah, there was, Wind Waker had its art style problems and its sailing. Twilight Princess had its, this is a little bit too much like Ocarina of Time syndrome. And Skyward Sword is Skyward Sword. It's got the overlong tutorial and the motion controls that you can either take or leave.
And fee.
Yeah, so this is in a weird way, it kind of feels like it's both branching out in a direction that Zelda hasn't gone before and also getting back to basics, which is strange to say both of them at once, but that's kind of what it feels like at times.
You could really see them building off this concept and having some fun ideas to go, like, okay, let's start bringing back in some Zelda elements. Like, okay, we did climbing now. Let's add the hook shot into the climbing. So now
you're really Spider-Man.
Exactly.
I think that the one thing that I really do miss in this game is items. I like the small selection of tools. And earlier I was thinking about how cool of a weapon the Sheikah Slate would be if they put it into a Hyrule Warriors. But I don't think that you should have I don't think that you should have like a Twilight Princess level satchel of items, but like at least a few more, because finding a new power is very, very satisfying, I feel like we should get that a little bit more. You find a lot of small rewards in this game, and not as many big ones.
Have you ever used Magnesis in combat?
I've tried a couple of times. It's very unwieldy, so I haven't done a lot.
Smack him with this metal door.
Yeah, find a big heavy metal object and wave it around. It knocks the enemies around like rag dolls.
Totally does.
Oh, I was in the library of Hyrule Castle, is an area you can go to, but there are enemies in it. But there are also metal bookcases you can pull out with magnesium and find stuff behind them. Pulled out a bookshelf and smacked the enemies around with the bookshelf.
Here's the thing, though.
I just had a thought. You could probably use magnesis on the metal weapons that some of the enemies use and just tug them out of their hands and whack
That's
them with
something. That's something to attempt. Although they're moving around so fast that it might be hard to get a lock on them. The shields. Try it on metal shields. Pull those shields away. See if that's a doable thing. That's going to be the key, I think, for adding new items to this kind of gameplay system. Is thinking up ways that those items can be used for multiple applications. Thinking up flexible ways to use them, because every single one of these items can be used for multiple things or in multiple situations to different effects. Yes, even the bomb.
Flight bombing runs, anyone?
Oh, man.
Once I beat this game, I need to watch the speed run, because I know that you can beat the game in under an hour, and
someone's gone just under an hour.
Yeah, so I wanna. But I know that, like, watching the game be broken in, like, in any percent, like, I know that that's going to be doable, but I can't wait until we, like, to start seeing people, like, route, like, I don't know, like...
All Divine Beast runs or something.
100%,
well, then 100%'s never going to.
But,
yeah.
Like, all Divine Beast runs.
Like, all Divine Beasts, I don't think we'll see something like all Shrines, ever. Because it's still a little bit too much, but... Like, all dungeons, like, all main quests or stuff like that, I think would be really cool to see.
Yeah, I can see that.
Well.
Yeah, do you want to get to ride on the Princess Mononoke deer yet?
By accident. I rode on the bear, though.
I tried to ride on the bear, but I got interrupted because a giant style enemy showed up, and he ran off. I'm like, crap.
That reminds me, like, you remember that enemy I talked about with the shock arrows? What was it called?
The Lionel?
Yeah.
The Lionel? Yeah, there was a mount command on that. It appeared for, like, a split second.
You can mount the Lionel?
I'm not surprised.
What?
I didn't try. I didn't notice it in time to try. I don't know the conditions to make it appear either. But it was there.
It's probably like a horse.
Yeah, but like
I still need to go take a picture of myself on the Princess Mononoke deer.
I'm wondering if you can, like, bring any of these back to a stable, and what happens.
I don't think you can.
You sort of can. You can ride one of these stall horses, and the guy will freak out if you try to register it. He goes, boy, that's a monster, not a horse.
Oh man.
I have because I did register the giant horse, which is actually not
Ganonhoof.
It's not as fun as I thought it would be, unfortunately, because it doesn't have it. It's gigantic, and I think it takes a beating. But unfortunately, it doesn't. You can't dash with it, so it's slow.
Yeah, well, obviously the best horse in the game is, fortunately and unfortunately, kind of Epona.
Yeah, but I don't feel like I've missed her, because I found good horses in the wild, and there are
plenty of good horses. It's just that Epona overall has the best stats.
Yeah, it's like all max stats and an easy temperament, I think, is also.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. The thing is, I really don't ride around on my horse much. Like, I have one, but I never use it.
Only if I'm doing specific things. Like, if I know that I'm... Actually, you know what? Not really. You can warp so many places that nowadays I think I can search more thoroughly on foot.
Here's the helpful thing to know about a horse. You can leave it behind anywhere and still board it at any stable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you don't need to worry about where you leave your horse. You can take your horse, and then when things start to seem shaky or you have to start climbing mountains or whatever, you can leave your horse where it is, and it will be fine. You don't have to worry about a random freak lightning storm killing it, for one thing.
Yeah.
So
it's just one of those things I like. I want to go that way, and I want to go on foot so I can look around and try different things and all that stuff. It's just personal preference more than anything else. I can definitely see myself, now that I'm using the Shrine Seeker, getting on my horse and just riding.
I feel the horses are more useful early game when you don't have as many warp points.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that I have done, though, is, like, if I know that I want to go, like, if I mark something on my map, there's no good location, like, warp point nearby, what I have found myself doing is temporarily taking a wild horse with me and then dropping it off, like, without bothering to keep it, is one, because that's an option, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind wrestling with the horse a little, because the horses behave more like animals than vehicles in this game, which I like.
You can also mount deer.
Huh. I haven't tried doing that.
So I got my first horse by killing a bokoblin and taking his.
Okay.
Yeah. It was much easier temperament. It didn't fight me at all. It was already used to it, so I'm good.
Oh, they thought of that. That's actually pretty clever.
Mhm.
Yeah, if it's already trained, it'll obey your commands.
And he has
It's
3
trained to
boost,
recognize commands.
3 boosters. So I was like, oh, this is great. This works.
3,
Wow.
Pshaw. My horse has 4.
I have fucking Epona, everyone. Fuck you. Best horse.
I have Epona. I haven't taken her out of the stable yet because I have another horse named Epona, and it's a perfectly good horse, and I like the color.
I'm just here
blue-
on my Epona, my Elacrino time gear, with my Master Sword and Highland Shield. Now this is how you're fucking supposed to play the game.
Nah,
Didn't you say
because
something
Ocarina
on
of
Twitter,
Time
like-
is not the best Zelda game, though.
Didn't you say something on Twitter like this is what Ocarina of Time looked
Yeah,
like?
back
to
in
us,
back in
however
90, back in
many years ago?
'98.
Actually, it looked a lot more polygonal.
Shut
than
up,
that.
Ted.
Eh.
Yeah, it was a big of Link, but in his Ocarina of Time gear was the Zelda. It's like, yeah, this is how it looked to us back in '98.
Yeah.
Eh.
But,
So anyway, yeah, I would also just say don't expect the BrainScratch playthrough for a long time because A, everybody is doing it, and B, it would be a 100-part playthrough easily.
We still have Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, and about a dozen 2D Zeldas to go through.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but nobody will watch those anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to do Breath of the Wild, but at the same time, I would never want to do Breath of the Wild because it's like, well, what do I do then?
I wouldn't mind actually being the one to record that because I think I can figure out a pretty efficient way to go through a game like this.
Yeah, I would probably have to wait a good long while and write out like my shrines and stuff too.
yeah.
Yeah, because you wouldn't, because a 100% playthrough of this would just take too long. So, good luck, Emil. Whenever
Gerard.
you do this, because I know you're.
Hey, Emil has already done Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah.
I think he can handle it.
This might be more than.
No, I would
Xenoblade,
still
though,
say
actually.
Xenoblade probably feels bigger.
Xenoblade takes more time to get everything done, I would say. Breath of the Wild has that Zelda simplicity in its structure to it. It's a very formulaic game. You go, you find your shrines, you find your collectible things. That's all she wrote. You can very comfortably go from step to step along the journey and come up with a good 100% / approaching 100% playthrough. Whereas with Xenoblade Chronicles, well, that is frickin' ridiculous.
Emil had to write his own guide for that.
Yeah.
He went pretty hard on that, so I can. Yeah.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he.
Good luck, Gerard.
Yeah, and Emil still has. I'm sure at some point he's gonna have to do X, and he's definitely gonna do 2 at some point. Years
he-
down the line.
No, most likely.
Yeah. So anyway, it's a good game.
Yeah,
It's a great game.
it is a good game.
Very good game.
I'm actually surprised by how much I like it.
With my schedule, I have a hard time sitting down playing stuff, but I've seriously, like, I get done with my stuff, I'll play until a good 4 hours a night and just try to make some progress. And it seems like a lot for most other games, but I'm slowly chipping away.
It's. I will say it's easier to sit down and play Breath of the Wild and feel like you've made progress in a couple of hours than it is in something like Elder Scrolls or even Horizon, which doesn't have that problem quite as heavily. Whereas in those games, between all of the mechanics, all of the items and stuff that you'll scavenge around in dungeons and random overworld areas and everything, you tend to move more slowly through everything unless you already know what's there. So, like, to put this in perspective, the first time whenever I boot up Oblivion, I spend like 2 full sessions of play just in the first town, doing the side quests and doing the Colosseum. And I'm like probably goddamn level 10 or something by the time I actually leave that first city and decide whether or not I'm going to go exploring at random or actually following the main quest line. Don't follow the main quest line in that game. It's fucking stupid. But, yeah, it's, you don't have that problem in this game. Everything blends into each other. It's everything feeds into each other, and it's actually really interesting how many times they when they designed it so that when you get something, be it a shrine or a side quest, it actually also gets you something else that you weren't expecting. Information on another objective, or some extra bonus item that you weren't expecting to get at that particular shrine. There's a sense of not necessarily momentum, but progression.
Discovery.
There's always something important.
Discovery and progression, yeah. Those two things, they work very, very well together in this game.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, all you people waiting for the holiday season to get your Switches with Mario and Zelda, you're in for a good
Or
time.
you can play it on your Wii U, I mean, if you wanted.
But how many people own a Wii U?
I'm still of the opinion that the Switch has a very good year ahead of it. Between this,
If E3
ARMS,
is good.
Even discounting E3, between this, ARMS, Splatoon 2, Mario, and potentially Xenoblade Chronicles 2, that's a damn good year. Now, it might be a little spread out for some people, but that's still good.
I'm hoping E3. I think we need a great E3 to really push the momentum forward.
I agree. It certainly wouldn't hurt, but I think as is, I'm liking what we have so far.
Yeah, it's got potential.
Mm-hmm.
It has tons of potential. Let's see that potential go somewhere. And I think when the holidays hit, a lot of people are going to buy Switches if they haven't already, because Super Mario Odyssey. Let's face facts. That looks like the most promising Mario game that we've had in well over a decade.
Mm-hmm.
Damn it! Mario Galaxy does turn 10 this Christmas. Yeah, 2007.
Wait, that did come out 2007, right? I keep getting 2006 to 2007 kind of confused in my head.
And for players like Arlo, who really prefer the explorative, adventurous kind of Mario, this is the first example of that we've had since Sunshine, and Sunshine was by itself a pretty patchy game.
I love how you used Arlo as an example rather than Ryan.
Well, what's more relatable, a blue puppet or Ryan?
Well, Arlo did a video about it, about Sunshine, so...
Well, one I think has had a girlfriend in their life, and one hasn't.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
But, no, it's a good start, and I hope they maintain the momentum. That's basically all I have to say.
Yeah, yeah. They need to. They went for the slow. They went for the slow burn on the launch, and they have to make that slow burn. I hope to God they improve that goddamn dock, or improve the screen, or both, preferably both.
No, the screen's already.
The
screen's already great.
Or give us
the screen covering.
Or give us a screen protector that doesn't suck.
The screen covering, I should say. A screen covering that doesn't scratch as much, because while the screen is beautiful, the screen covering is very prone to scratching, and that's gonna, like, for players that play it almost exclusively portable, well, they'll have to take care of it, but they'll be fine. Players that put it in the dock and don't have any intention of playing it portable, who the fuck cares? But players who really want to play both portable and at home are going to have some trouble with the current screen and the current dock.
Yeah. So, yeah.
It's these kind of things they need to deal with. It's these kind of small design things that really affect the long time user experience with a device. You have to nail them, and they didn't nail them. So I hope they nail them in the next couple waves or so.
Well, it is technically a portable, and Nintendo loves their iterations, so I'm sure we'll see something.
Switch XL, Switch.
New Nintendo Switch.
There you go.
Newer Nintendo Switch.
Newer Nintendo Switch XL.
New Nintendo Switch XL Turbo Special Edition.
Micro.
XL Micro? What?
Hey, we had a Game Boy Advance Micro.
XL means extra large.
Yeah, that means it's just the same size as a normal Switch. It's an extra large micro.
Oh man!
Don't give them any ideas, Ted.
Oh man!
I think I'm out of stuff to say about you guys.
Yeah, same for now. I mean, I could gush about the game.
Oh yeah, we're just repeating ourselves at that point. I mean, the best thing I could say is you haven't played the game yet, or if you're still playing the game, just get out there and keep playing. Enjoy it, because it is fun to just close yourself off and just see what you can see, and I guarantee you'll have experiences different from ours. You probably already have.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's why it's, even though I've played the game to death and done all the main quests and stuff, it's still fun to watch, gameplay videos, because everyone does things differently.
Yeah, this is a streamer's blessing, is this game.
Oh, my, yeah.
One thing that I do want to say as a closing thought, I know there are a lot of gamers out there that don't like open world games. In fact, I know there are a lot of gamers out there who are extremely cynical about them, and for good reason.
Thanks, Ubisoft.
Yeah, Ubisoft is a major culprit. Bethesda to a certain extent, because while they have made some really good games in the past, they've also made some badly structured ones, to say the least. But this is a game that I think, even if you are not entirely a fan of open world games, it deserves a chance. In fact, I really think it deserves a chance. It's very well crafted. There's a sentiment that I often see in video comments that runs along the lines of, instead of making big games, make good games. Well, this is a big game that is also a very good game, and that is the highest recommendation I can. That is the highest praise that I can give an open world game, because when you make an open world game, it introduces so much complexity and element of randomness to the gameplay experience. And if you can design a game well with that as your framework, then you've got something really, really special on your hands. And Breath of the Wild is probably the one example of it that exists right now that blends that with an arcadey experience that's kind of retro simplicity in its essence. Not retro in the sense that it uses pixel art everywhere like an indie title, but retro in a sense that it has that same kind of Super Nintendo charm to it, that ease of access and ease of play. The only real barrier to entry is that the early game is fucking brutal if you don't know how to dodge and block properly. Yeah. Yeah,
that kind of leads into my final thoughts in that I haven't been this kind of charmed with gameplay and just kind of personality-wise by a Zelda game since, the old late-end SNES N64 days, really.
Yeah. It has that. It has that going for it very well.
As somebody who's not traditionally been less enthusiastic about Zelda as a whole, not that the games, when I was really young, like a teenager, I was like, oh, Zelda's so overrated, but, when you grow older, you stop being an asshole about that kind of stuff. But anyway, as somebody, but, even still, I've never been super gushy about the franchise, but even so, as somebody who's generally been less enthusiastic about a lot of Zelda stuff, this is a very, very gripping game. It's one that I've spent more time than I really should have, because I've had other stuff I've needed to do. And it's just nope, I'm gonna keep on playing Zelda and not get the work I need to get done.
Yeah, I spent more time than I thought on it too, because I haven't even really gotten to Spectre Knight or Fast Remix yet.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Or Bomberman. I still need to record the last 2 worlds of Bomberman, and I keep on playing this instead. So it's a very easy. The fact that you can't play a game for more than 50 hours with it feeling like 10, and not enjoy it quite a bit. It's definitely my favorite 3D Zelda game so far. I don't know.
But Ted, at least crossbow training is 3D.
Oh, that's true. Well, let's just say that's a given. Okay, we can't hold everything to that standard, but this is definitely, it's, as for it being a 10 out of 10 best game of all time, I don't know if it pushes my buttons.
We've only had a week.
Yeah.
This, you need some time to sit on it.
Here's the thing: if it were the best game of all time for me, I think after a week I would know. If I've played it for this much time, I would know if it's my favorite game of all time. And I don't think it's quite that, but not being the best is not saying that it's bad. It's a fantastic game. I recommend you play it.
But Ted, don't you know how things work now? It's either the bestest thing ever! Exclamation point! Exclamation point! 1 exclamation point!
Or
the
it's
worstest
7
thing
out of
ever.
10 because they don't want to piss off the publishers.
7.8 out of 10. Too much water.
Yeah, this is one case where I feel like the consistently high rankings across the board for the Zelda game, with very little in the way of strong criticism, is more or less earned.
Yeah, because every Zelda game, like Skyward Sword, Twilight Princess, they all get 9s and 10s almost unanimously. This is I mentioned this earlier, but this is an instance where I feel like, yeah, I see it. Yeah, I get it. Derrick, you should go, though, because it's your turn.
Oh, I mean, I'm still very early in on the game, even though I have gotten to one dungeon, but there's still so much. I've only opened up 3 regions. There are way more regions.
15.
There's 15 in total, so I have 11 more to open up and to explore and check out all that stuff. And it's a good sign when I just want to come back to it and see what I can find and see what I can do. And I do have that itching. It's like, I kind of do want to find all the shrines and find all the Korok seeds and find just everything I can in this game, because it is just that much fun to explore, and it's gripping me in that way. And I really wish I could just take some time and sit down for a good solid 12 hours and just keep playing it to see what I can find, but unfortunately I don't have that ability. But just everything I'm experiencing so far is making it great. But it is also way too early for me to say, because you get a game like this, you're going to be riding that high, and I don't want to say it's my new favorite or anything like that. It's just very damn good, and probably will crack my top 5.
I'm just glad to finally have a Zelda that, not to put Twilight Princess or other, like A Link Between Worlds or whatever down, but it's nice to have a Zelda that was really worth the wait.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the one thing I'm wondering about for this game is how well it's going to hold up on a second playthrough, because
that is the big question.
I can imagine that this can be an exhausting game at times. Trying to do it all again. I don't know if I'm going to play this game again, or at least I don't think I'm going to 100% it twice.
Let's put it this way. I got very tired of the plateau section because I did not get my Switch right away, and I was already going to get the Wii U version because, like Twilight Princess on the GameCube, that thing's going to be a collector's item, so I'm going to keep a hold of that. So I was playing it on that so I could actually experience it, but I didn't want to leave the plateau. So I was very familiar with the plateau at that point. Then I got the Switch and started playing through that way, but Andre wanted that video I did on how the different ways that you can get the warm doublet on the plateau.
You missed one, for the record. You can just...
I've been told, Ted. I've been told.
Mr. GameXplain, did you know that there's actually 3 ways to get the warm doublet?
You guess what that would have entailed? I would have had to restart the whole damn game again.
Who needs the warm doublet? I have a torch.
Yeah. So it did get old, but also I was redoing that after again and again. I have a feeling wait a year or so, come back. I think you can still have a lot of fun, and you can actually guide yourself oh, I want to go this way. Oh, there's this. I want to find this, and keep going. And you'll still have a kind of a new experience because of the randomized elements, or just, hey, I want to try this way. So there is potential for it to be highly replayable, but I don't think it's something you're I just finished a game, I'm going to go back and start another playthrough. No.
Yeah, that's something you would do more for A Link Between Worlds than a Breath of the Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's pretty typical of these kind of games. You're not going to play fucking Ultima 7 twice in a row. You're not.
Mm-hmm.
If you have, you're crazy.
Yeah.
But I feel like even if you wanted to, this would probably be the easiest open world game to do that with.
Well, at least beating all of the divine beasts or whatever. If you can get to Ganon in an hour, I can see you doing that plenty of times. But not beating the entire game 100, not even 100%, even 50%, would probably be a little bit exhausting trying to do over and over.
On the other hand, just for this one playthrough, and I can't believe it's as nice to say this as it is, but I finally found a way to actually drain the battery power of this goddamn Wii gamepad. Because that hasn't happened. That hasn't happened to me, like, the entire time I've owned this fucking thing.
Which is surprising, because the battery life on it's terrible.
Yeah, but, like,
The Switch has better battery life than that thing.
Yeah, I know. It's just whenever I go to the bathroom or go to get myself a drink, I set the gamepad down on its dock, and it has a few minutes to recharge. This is the first time I've sat down and been so focused on a game that I've been playing on my Wii that I've actually run out of battery power multiple times and had to take a break.
Nice. That's a good sign. Yeah, I had to do that with Xenoblade Chronicles X, but this is, definitely the case. So,
yeah.
All right, so that was I guess our Zelda miss. We went for almost 2.5 hours. Wow.
yeah.
Well, I'm not surprised. It's a gigantic game, and there's a lot. And you have to realize that 3 of us out of here have not beaten it yet. So there's still more we could have talked about if we decided to go full blown spoiler territory. So
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I've got like 25% of the game done at this point.
Oh, no, you don't. Not according to the official tally. I guarantee you don't.
Well, not according to the official tally, but 25% of the map and the main plot, just about.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You still have yet to go make Ganon's face the greatest in Korodai.
Yeah. As soon as I got a nice big Master Sword to shove in his forehead again.
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay.
Just kind of a very last kind of joke about that. Someone made a joke picture of
I've
Link
seen
getting
that.
the Master Sword, and then out pops Ganondorf with a sword stuck in his head.
I love that. I love that so much. Because everybody's theory at first was that this was like Hyrule after the water's been drained from the Great Sea.
And you're pulling off the sword, and there's just Ganondorf's head.
The rusted Master Sword isn't actually in the game, though.
That's just a stylistic title thing.
There is a in-story kind of reason for that.
Okay.
Really?
Okay.
There usually is.
Okay. Well, we'll figure
Kind.
it out.
I say kind of, and they don't really elaborate, but there is a bit of a hand wave for it.
Eh.
Okay.
Okay. All
Guess
right.
that makes sense.
Cool.
Okay, so let's cut it off now before this becomes a 5-hour discussion. All right. Good.
All right, so new discussion whenever you guys are finished. 5 hours one.
Plus, you'll have to get Johnny's opinions in that. So, yeah. There you go.
Yeah, John's. I think John said he was going to be doing his own discussion with SGB. So.
Oh, he's too good for us now, isn't he, jerk?
Good thing I control his paycheck from here.
Oh yeah, his Italy experience.
Well, what I was actually going to say was go check that out whenever it happens if you want John's opinions.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Well, we all know he's way more popular than any of us are. So.
Hey, I take offense to that.
Of course, aside from you, Mystic Game Explain.
Mystic Game Explain.
Nah, it's been fun.
Okay.
So, yep.
All right, so thanks for watching if you somehow made it this long, and we'll talk to everyone some other time.
Later.
Bye.
Later.